Hello everyone, it's your Peacekeeper coming at you with the next and final video in our How to Play series on the Royal Navy battleship line. This is the Tier 10 Conqueror class of battleships, and, well, you know, it's a paper ship, much like Lion. However, unlike Lion, none of these, I can't find any information on this ship. The ship appears to be entirely a fabrication of Wargaming's design. And the reason why I say that is because while the 419mm 45 caliber Mark II guns existed in real life, they were never actually put on a ship. They most likely would have gone on the Lion. The 457mm or the 18-inch 45 caliber Mark II guns also existed, and the battleship that they were planned to go on looks nothing like this. In fact, it's the N3 design. It was designed in the 1920s, and it has a very interesting configuration. It would have been a 1-2, there would have been the main superstructure, there would have been a third turret in the middle, and then a bunch of superstructure at the back end of the ship. It was a really weird design, and it resembled more of HMS Nelson or Rodney than it did the current Conqueror we see in game. Plus, the added disadvantage of this Conqueror in game with the 18-inch guns only has 8 barrels instead of the planned 9 on the N3 class. So, no idea what this possibly could have been. So if you guys know, let me know down in the comments. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to skip over history and service history because, well, none of these ships existed. And as far as I can tell, the design is purely made up. Most likely a Lion class prototype, but can't say for sure. So in terms of in-game playstyle, well, it's the HMS Conqueror, and this ship has a number of things going for it. Most notably is the 11.8 kilometer detection range, which for a Tier 10 battleship is insane. The other one is the 12 barrels of 16.5 inch, or 16.25 inch, math is hard, it's 16.5 inch guns that have ridiculous fire chance, or the option of 18-inch guns that also have a ridiculous fire chance, but better AP. So you've got options there. You've got plenty of usable range. You've got plenty of anti-aircraft. You've got, obviously, the lots of stealth. And, well, I guess I don't really know what else to say about it. I mean, the ship has a lot of strengths. Well, it even has the really awesome Royal Navy heels, so it's a very powerful ship in the right hands. It's very easy to get, high damage numbers. It's very easy to rack up fire and withers with this thing. But at the end of the day, the ship has one overwhelming problem, and it makes me really not like playing the ship. And that's, it really has no carry potential. You cannot get into a battle and just duke it out at point blank range or even at mid ranges and come out with all of your hit points or with a decent amount of hit points and still carry the battle. The ship just eats damage from any angle, and it has a large part to do with the fact that we've got 32 millimeters everywhere. This ship is just littered with it. And yeah, sure, we've got a really thick main armor belt. It's 16 inches thick. And, you've even got a little bit of this fore-end striking here from the incremental armor scheme, but it's really not noticeable at all in-game. These 32mm plates, they just eat HE damage, and the superstructure is large enough that any shells that seem to hit, you're going to eat damage there. And, of course, if you expose too much of a broadside, while 16 inches of armor is impressive, and the fact that your citadel is below water, you take a lot of normal pen damage too. So the ship takes damage from all sorts of sources very easily, and that makes it hard to play. So my recommendation is, if you're familiar with the way US battleships play at the high tiers with the concealment builds, that would be my recommendation. The ship is best played in that 13 to 15 kilometer range away from targets. Its brawling capabilities are extremely limited. Its armor piercing, well, it's Lion's guns, or if you have the 18-inch guns, it has decent AP, and it is usable, so I do recommend using it. But the vast majority of what makes this ship so ridiculously overpowered is the main battery's fire chance. You know, you look at the main battery fire chance, 50%. Shell lands on target, you know, you've got pretty high chance of starting a fire on it. And with 12 barrels, that's a lot of chances to start one or more fires. The other part of that is the actual shell damage itself at 7,200. I cannot tell you the number of times I have chunked a Montana or Iowa or North Carolina or Amagi or Izumo or any of the other battleships for 17,000 damage with just high explosive in this ship. And that's incredibly strong. But of course, coming with that is the 2 or 3 fires that you get out of that. And so the ship is just a flamethrower. Throw in the fact that its reload time can be dropped down to 26.4 seconds with the reload module, and the ship just becomes ridiculous. Add in the heal and the high concealment, you take too much damage, you disengage, you heal up, you come back and you're, you know, let's say you lost half your hit points, you come back and you have almost all of your hit points back. You'll have like 80% of your hit points back. That's ridiculous. And it can do this a bunch of times. 4 times if you're running a superintendent on your captain and have premium consumables. Sure, the reload on it is longer on Conqueror because they nerfed it, but at the end of the day, the ship is still ridiculously strong. So those are kind of its strong points. Of course, you know, its weak point being the fact that it takes damage from every source and the longer reload time on its consumable. So let's go ahead and let's segue there into stats. So in terms of hit points, Conqueror has the lowest hit point pool of any of the tier 10 battleships currently in game, 82,900 hit points. Up to 416 millimeters of armor, which, if I remember correctly, we're looking at back of turret. No, not the back of turret. Must be the barbettes. Yep. So barbettes 416. Your main belt is 406, which is 16 inches. 30% torpedo damage reduction, which is okay. I mean, it's not the... I think it is actually the worst. I think Grosser Kurfürst actually has better. Nope. Okay, so it's 3% better than Grosser Kurfürst. Bite my... You know, go ahead and eat my... stick my foot in my mouth there. Main battery consists of 4 triple turrets of 16.5-inch diameter shells. Reload time is going to be 26.4 seconds. That's going to be with the reload module. 30 seconds without it. 43.1 second 180 degree turn time, which is pretty quick for battleship turrets. 7,200 shell damage with HE, 50% fire chance. AP does up to 13,000, so less than the Montana does, and it has worse pen than Montana does, but that fire chance more than makes up for it. And you can see we also have different shell velocities for them. The AP is slower by about 45 or so meters per second there. The main battery firing range is 24.3 kilometers, which is pretty good. No reason to buff the range on this guy. Secondary armament, this is going to be 8 of the dual. They are 5.25-inch secondary mounts. They also function as part of your anti-aircraft suite. These have been standard since, is it King George V? I think is when the first time we see those turrets. And they have a range of 7.6 kilometers. I think that is with advanced firing training. So, yeah, that's going to be with advanced firing training. Anti-aircraft defense is actually pretty solid. You know, you got a 93 rating. That's without speccing into it. But you've got... most of your damage is going to be coming from your Bofors mounts, and there's really no short-range AA on Conqueror. It's all Bofors, and those 8 dual 5.25-inch secondaries, the dual-purpose secondaries, and, you know, your AA bubble starts out at 6.2, drops down to 4.2, and stays there, and so you've got 40 millimeter wise, we've got 12 single 40 millimeter Bofors. You've got 40 millimeter of these STAAGs. This is what they look like. These have their own built-in radar dish. You've got 11 of the sextuple 40mm Bofors mounts. And then, of course, the 8 dual 134mm guys. In terms of maneuverability, 31 knots, which is respectable. And that, I think... Yep, that's going to be with the speed flag, so that's going to drop to 29.5 without it. 940 meter turning radius, which is about average for a tier 10. 13.9 second rudder shift time, which is also about average for a tier 10. Detection range by sea of 11.8 kilometers. Detection range by air of 12.1. Wargaming? This is one of the few ships in the game that actually has a higher detection range by air than it does by sea. Not sure what that's all about. Alright, in terms of upgrades, I am running Auxiliary Armaments Mod 1 in the first slot for the 100% increase in your anti-aircraft guns survivability, which is basically their hit point pool. So we're doubling their hit point pool. It also does double the hit point pool of your secondary battery. Of course, there's Magazine Mod 1 for those who fear going hood for the 70% reduction in your chance of your magazine getting detonated. And then, of course, Main Armaments Mod 1. Any one of these options are viable. It just kind of depends on what you're most afraid of. Personally, I would much rather keep my AA suite alive if I can, even though aircraft carriers really aren't all that common at Tier 10. It just, when you do run into them, it's nice to know that your anti-aircraft battery hangs around for just a little bit longer through all of the damage and focus fire you're going to be receiving. And so that's why I run Auxiliary Armaments Mod 1. In the second slot, as with all battleships, Damage Control Systems Mod 1 for the 3% reduction in the chance of flooding, as well as 3% reduction in the damage received when a torpedo hits your Torpedo Damage Reduction System, your TDS. These other two mods really don't make a whole lot of sense for a battleship because you don't lose your engines and steering gears very often, and when you do, usually your damage control party's near up or up so that you can repair that. And if it's not, well, you're a battleship, you can tank rounds a little bit better than other ships can. In the third slot, I'm taking Aiming Systems Mod 1. Again, because the ship is operating at longer ranges, reducing the dispersion by 7% is really nice. It does also buff the secondary battery's firing range by 5% and decrease the dispersion by 5%. That's really not all that useful. The ship's secondary battery is really rather lackluster. And so as you can imagine, secondary battery mod 2, not recommended. AA Guns mod 2, if you really want to push the ship's AA bubble, if let's say tier 10 carriers make a comeback, AA Guns mod 2 would definitely be a viable upgrade here to boost your anti-aircraft gun firing range by an additional 20%. It's going to push those Bofors out to about 5 kilometers, your 134mm, your 5.25 inch dual purpose guns out to like 7.6, I think, or 7.2, somewhere in that range. Main battery mod 2, the ship is primarily operating at longer ranges, so turret traverse is really not a priority for it. Plus the turret traverse is plenty quick. With expert marksman on your captain, I really don't think that this is a necessary mod. In the fourth slot, I'm running Steering Gears Mod 2 for the 20% reduction in the rudder shift time. That gives us that 13.9 second rudder shift time. I personally find this to be a better option than Damage Control Systems Mod 2 or Propulsion Systems Mod 2 because I prefer avoiding incoming fire altogether if I can. Some people much prefer Damage Control Systems Mod 2 because of the 15% reduction in at times to repair fires and floods. And that's also a viable option, especially if you're looking to build what is called the zombie build. If you took the survivability path for your captain skills at the beginning of this, Damage Control Systems Mod 2 on this ship, not a bad idea because you are going to get focus fired a lot from just about every source, and so with that comes the inevitable need to repair things quicker. So that's always an option. Propulsion Systems Mod 2, this ship doesn't spend much time stationary, so I really don't see this as being a necessary upgrade. In the fifth slot, I'm running Concealment Systems Mod 1 for the 10% reduction in the detection range of the ship, but it's also nice to have the plus 5% to the dispersion of shells fired at you. And those two things together make for a very stealthy battleship, which, quite honestly, having, a Conqueror show up 11.8 kilometers away from you in a cruiser is a pretty scary thing, because it doesn't matter what angle you are, that HE is going to find a way to do damage to you. And if you're broadside and he has AP loaded, he can still rock your world. Target Acquisition Systems Mod 1, if you wanted to give up the 10% reduction in your detection range, I could see this working out really well, especially if torpedoes are something that is a frequent problem for you. This is going to buff your assured acquisition range of enemy ships from 2 kilometers to 3 kilometers. It's going to increase your overall spotting range by 20%. Note, this is not the spotting range where you can detect other ships, but this is the maximum range that you can see on the minimap. It's denoted by that gray cone that shows up. Really not all that useful. And it's going to increase the acquisition range of torpedoes by 20%. So if you had a torpedo that was detectable at 2 kilometers, it would go up, like 2.5 or so, somewhere in that range. So that math is really bad. Anyway, in the final slot, I'm running Main Battery Mod 3, and this is going to reduce our main battery loading time by 12%. Unfortunately, it's also going to slow down our turret traverse by 13%. But because the ship operates at the mid to long ranges, it's really not that critical to have a fast-turning turret. And I would much rather have the much faster reload time, because that just means by the time my guns are back up, if the guy that I started 2 fires on burned his damage control party, which is a really high probability, the next salvo is most likely going to start additional fires, and 26.4 seconds means it's going to happen a lot sooner. It also allows you to focus on multiple targets and kind of work that angle as well. Other options at this, AA Guns Mod 3, if you are really interested in holding up your middle finger to carriers, say they make a huge comeback, which I don't foresee happening anytime soon, this will buff your damage per second of your anti-aircraft gun mounts by 25%, which is a non-inconsequential amount of increase. These other 2 options I really don't see as being viable. The ship has plenty of maximum range for its playstyle, no reason to add more, and the secondary battery is really rather bad. Royal Navy battleships not known for their secondaries at this tier. Once you get into the upper tiers, the secondaries are bad, just bad, so no reason to reduce their reload time. The only interesting thing to talk about is we don't have a fighter, and that does cause some problems when it comes to spotting torpedoes, etc. That's why if you are running, Vigilance on your captain, and you are running the Target Acquisition Systems Mod 1, you can, spot torpedoes and stuff further out. Personally, with how far back you're going to be, the chances of other ships spotting them first is much higher, but it could have some advantages in the late game to have those mods. But without that fighting plane, it can be a little frustrating. You are basically blind. However, you also heal 2,000 hit points per second for 20 seconds. And that number comes out to be something really rather insane at the end of the day. So really nothing to worry about there in terms of repairing what damage you do take. So, okay, that's enough of me talking about this import. Let's go look at it in a battle video. Alright, so obviously this battle is going to be a tier 10 battle. And one of the things I want to strongly caution is when you look at the damage numbers from this battle, don't be surprised. The ship can put a lot of damage on the board, and just because it can do that doesn't mean it can carry the day. And there are some mistakes made in this battle, but overall I feel pretty good about it. So the map is Northern Lights, which is the only, and I'm going to use the term loosely, night battle map in this entire thing. The map is north, but it has a different skybox so that it is a pseudo night battle. Of course, it also comes with the with this current format, which is basically north. Like we don't actually really get to see the northern lights at all. Anywho, lots of battleships on this match. Not too many destroyers. We have the destroyer advantage. You can see I am divisioned up here, and Zhao Conqueror combo. I don't think there's any way you could get any more annoying to the enemy team when it comes to fires than that. Some people could probably find a more annoying one, but anywho. So we're loaded up here. We've got myself Micro Kriegers who I'm playing with. And right off the bat, you can see I'm kind of really not interested in pushing through any of these points. And the common tactic on this map is to kind of wait and find out where the enemy's going before we start pushing and prodding into certain cap points. And we're going to adhere to that in this one, because the Conqueror simply doesn't have, like I said before, doesn't have the durability to really slug it out in a cap and be the focus of everyone's attention. In fact, it will get plenty of focused attention without the need for, without your intention. So you could be at the back of the map and people are going to focus you down if for no other reason than because you're a Conqueror, and left unattended, you will do evil and disgusting things to enemy ships. And, well, I mean, that's to be expected. I mean, everybody who's played against the ship says, oh, well, it's super overpowered. And to an extent, I kind of agree. The ship is very strong in a lot of ways, especially when left unattended. You know, it's like that child, that demon child that we've all seen at like Walmart or something, where they just run around with, you know, no parental supervision and just terrorize everybody in the store. And that's what Conqueror can really do. And it comes from being a dual threat battleship. I mean, it really does have pretty good AP. We'll see a little bit of that in this match. It really does have pretty strong HE. It has ridiculously strong HE. So first target of the day, Missouri. He manages to disappear, but the first thing that we do right away is we're going to turn in and we're going to traverse those turrets to the other side already. But rounds are going down range here. 7 pens for 16,632 damage. No fire started, but 16,000 damage from high explosive. People wonder why I hate this ship so much. I hated Zhao back in closed beta for the same reason. It was the only ship that could hit your superstructure and lop off 9,000+ damage with just high explosive. Just poof, gone in one salvo. Nothing you could do about it. You just had to deal with it. Sure, we didn't start any fires, but we did 16,632 damage that is unrepairable. Well, some of it's going to be repairable, you know, repairable like normal damage would be. But seriously, that's just insane. It really is. Okay, so we got ourselves a Benson that popped up. High explosive up against the destroyer. Yeah, 10,504 damage. 2 fires, 4 incapacitations. We've lopped off over half of their hit points. And this is why when people say, well, but, you know, armor piercing is so ridiculously overpowered against destroyers, like, this is HE for you guys. Do you really want this? Because the alternative is this. It really is. I don't think it's worth it, personally. I'd much rather deal with the AP because there's at least a chance that it's going to do a lot less damage. High explosive, there is no mitigating that much damage. So at this point, we are kiting. I'm hoping to drag a Grosser Kurfürst through this. Our team is just all over the board in terms of where we went in cap. Not real thrilled with the way things are currently going. But we don't have much of a choice here. So 3,000 damage taken there from cruiser hiding behind stuff. But look, there's our buddy in the Missouri. He only didn't get that other turret off, which is unfortunate. Oh, well, we've seen this a lot in the live stream. You know. Okay, so we got one shell penetrated there. We managed to avoid getting beached. And their Benson is going down. You know, up to 30,000 damage, really using our stealth to get away from this whole situation, that's for sure. Trying our dangdest. We need spotting, so that's one problem. The second problem is that we're going to be behind an island, which is also a problem. Tago? I don't think that was necessarily a good shot. One of the interesting things about the guns on this is that it's very difficult to get used to. Well, it must have been good enough. Yeah, how about 6,000 damage in a fire? That's really not all that It's really not all that rare. Broadside Atago. So we're going to continue focusing in while we turn ourselves around. Now at this point we've got a cap lead, but we are just losing ships like crazy. And it was at this point that I wish I had loaded AP instead of HE, but you know, we're going to test some things. Part of that is ridiculous high explosive damage. 6,500 damage. Another fire, so now the Atago is going to burn for another 15 seconds or so. Hoping that Micro Krieger can take out the Atago. I'm going to try and focus on taking out the Grosser Kerr first up here. Of course, you know, our gun's coming up every 26 seconds, not helping the fire situation on some ships. But this ship can rack up some pretty big damage numbers, especially in battles where there's another fire and 7,000 damage. This ship can really rack up some fire damage on especially battleship targets. Not very maneuverable, not a whole lot of opportunity there for them to excel at their tanking abilities when reload comes up as often as it does. Up to 60,000 damage, still no kills. Another fire on the Atago. Oh boy. Not having any active fires burning except for on the Atago at this point. But at this point, they've lost one ship. We've lost 4. Even though we have 2 caps to their 1, we got enough people pushing through the D cap to the C cap. We're going to go ahead and we're going to join in on the fun a little bit here. We are going to try our hardest to, you know, get in here and really start helping out our team. And this, not going to be able to get... One thing that I don't like about the ship is the gun angle. So down goes yet another Tier 10 battleship. So that's kind of unfortunate. Oh, and it's Hibiki of all ships, too. That makes me sad. Anyway, shooting at the Atago. Trying to get the rear guns out to maybe get the Missouri. Rounds are falling. We've got another fire and 2 shell pens on that Atago. He manages to burn his repair right away. There's 2 fires and 4,000 damage on the Missouri over there. This thing is just starting fires like crazy. And this is what I was talking about. It's very easy to rack up damage. It's very easy to hit the big damage numbers in this ship. The problem always comes from finishing those ships off. You know, at least with AP, you knew that if you caught a ship broadside, you could do a pretty significant amount of damage, and that always helped out. But in this case, not so much. So we're pushing through. Our team is melting really rather quickly, so we need to step up our A game a little bit. Grosser Kerr first here. Still... Oh, yeah, there you go. Turn that way. That's going to help. 9,700 damage. So 10,000 damage with just HE. It's very strong, high explosive. There we can see we at least managed to get ourselves angled in. So he is burning. We're going to focus on a different ship. We're going to try and start this Montana. Well, maybe go back to Kerr first. No, we should definitely shoot at the Montana and try and get the Montana on fire. And Montana trying to shoot at the Kiev, not succeeding terribly well. How about 12,000 damage and 2 fires on that Montana? So now we know that he's going to burn that repair party. Oop, incoming shells from the Iowa. Whew. Doing pretty good on the tanking scheme here, that's for sure. Up to 107,000 damage, 11 fires. We definitely want to start the Montana on fire again, but, well, not going to happen. We've got too many targets loaded up here. I had AP loaded there momentarily to shoot at the Montana, but, well, in hindsight, I probably should have taken that shot. 10,000 through the nose on that Grosser Kerr first there. Angled just enough to focus down this Montana, but, man, we're talking... Ooh, Atago. Why, hello there. HE shells loaded, hoping for something major. Like a kill would be nice. Or we can start the Iowa on fire, which tanked the shells that should have killed the Atago. Ooh, 13,000 from Battleship. There you can see the heel going through. Come on, we need to kill off this Atago. Kill him! Kill him! Front turrets are out. Rear turrets are out. Can we? Yes, we got ourselves the kill, finally. And down goes the Grosser Kerr first. All of this is definitely helping. Oh, main turret gets kind of knocked out a little bit there. At this point, I'm not sure that it's possible for us to win, but we're gonna try, that's for sure. We got ourselves an Iowa with only 22,000 hit points. Yeah, this is advantage Conqueror. So we're gonna try and deal with that if we can. There's a fire set on him for 3,500 damage. That Yamato is really hurting. That's for sure. Trying to back up, waiting for that repair party to come up. But one of the, like I said in the beginning of this, one of the disadvantages of this ship is the fact that its repair party is not very, it does not come up very frequently. So definitely something to be aware of. And of course, the turret angles mean that you are going to end up being the focus and being very broadside when it happens. So that Missouri is most likely going, or that Iowa is most likely going to burn to death. It'd be nice if he would hurry up and burn to death. This other one, oh, well, that was nice. Mr. Domskoy took the kill. That's fine. So we're gonna put a set of rounds out over here, see if we can't finish off this one for our Kiev. Thankfully, RNGesus blessed me there. Okay, and we take out the other Missouri. We're up to 584 damage, and now we have evened out the odds a little bit. We've finally taken over enough points to make this work. And, oh yeah, bye. Okay. Is that the Minotaur over there? It must be. There's a Minotaur on their team that is obviously shooting at me. Traversing our guns right. Trying to, get ourselves to the correct location here. Really need this heal to come up sooner rather than later. HE shell spam. Definitely working overtime here. Trying like heck to do some damage to this Yamato and focus him down. But this Minotaur is really friggin' annoying. So Yamato manages to burn his damage control party. And you know what that means? That means it's time for some extra damage from high explosive and fires. So turning just enough here to get the rear guns in and then masking them right back up. It's just so consistent in the amount of damage that you can do. No fires there. Really disappointed in that. It's just so consistent in the amount of damage that it can do. Ooh, Domskoy did really good there. Next up, we got Nabuki. 165,000 damage. Very easy to get these high damage number games in this ship. Just remember that the targets that you're getting the majority of that damage from are battleships. And so when you get a large contingent of battleships... Ooh, Minotaur. Had AP loaded. I wonder why I had that loaded. Anyone want to take a guess? At this point, our heal is really not that useful because we can't heal any more damage. So waiting for additional... we require more pylons. Not working out terribly well there. So, Minotaur, come on. Turn a little bit, buddy. There you go. Attaboy. Turn into this. We'll all be over soon. And then behind him is a Montana. Now we're stuck between the literal rock and a hard place. But there was 13,000 damage taken off there. Off of that Montana, so it's not like we did terrible. However, we were angled just enough that he was able to lop off about the equivalent, so it really is what it is. Domskoy pushing in there, trying to hopefully get the rune, but well, he didn't quite make that. We are, however, being very heavily focused fired. 205,281 damage. We've got the best TDS in the game. Sinking ship TDS. Unfortunately, it is also the blocking enemy cruiser TDS. But our heal working overtime to hopefully get this guy working out. Yes. And we get our fourth kill. 4 kills, 222,706 damage. Really thought that we were going to pull this out, but just not getting that lucky. At least not today. Yeah, one turret out. I wish I could keep going, man. Trust me. Oh, yep, and there we go. So 225,000 damage in a Conqueror with a pretty epic finish there. It started off really slow. In terms of overall gameplay style, you guys kind of saw how it gets played. At the early game, if you've got it, the HE spam at long range is really powerful. AP up close, also very powerful and not to be ignored. But the ship lacks the ability to carry. You can see how quickly it lost hit points there. If you don't play the angle game just perfectly, it can be extremely difficult / impossible to actually, survive any encounter at close ranges. But overall, a pretty good game. Conqueror is very strong, don't get me wrong. However, its biggest weakness is the lack of ability to carry, and that really makes its win rate subject to your team, and that is its own disadvantage. I mean, there's nothing you can really do to stop that, short of playing in a division with it all the time. And as a result, I'll be honest, mine is port locked. I haven't taken it out since I did the battles for this when I was trying to figure out how it plays. I never did play with the 18-inch gun configuration. I just never saw it as being something that was necessary. Yeah, it's got a higher fire chance, but you have less barrels. And you saw how much damage that this thing can do with just HE. I mean, we didn't start using AP until the last 5 minutes of this match, and we had quite a healthy amount of damage built up when it happened. So it's really not, in my opinion, necessary. I really don't think that the 18-inch guns offer anything. It can't overmatch BALs like Yamato's guns do, so I don't see any reason to run them unless you want to run an AP-centric build, which I suppose if you did that, it would work out quite well. Okay, so this is the end battle screen here. And you can see 224,634 damage, 4 kills, 16 sinks. Top of our team, 1,744 base XP. Potential damage, 3.5 million. 46,000 damage done in fires, which is actually pretty low for Conqueror. But we did almost as much damage in AP. And then the credits and XP screen. Overall, the ship is good, but like I said, it's tied heavily to your team, and if you don't have a good team, it doesn't have the carry potential like other Tier 10 battleships do, and as a result, mine sits in port all the time. Anyway, I'm your Peacekeeper. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you for watching.